welcome. This is the 25th of April 2025. You're listening to Markus Termin, the genius German astrologer, Astrologisches Stundenbuch. What are we looking at? There's tension in the sky, the opposition in between Mars and Pluto and Lilith and the Sun. This is a grand cross in between fixed signs is showing its results. Looking at India, where we have been witnessing this recent terror thing that is happening, which is always a Secret Service bullshit stuff, you know, and once upon a time they are doing things like that to rise the tension and to justify the budget that is being pushed into these institutions, and this is what is happening worldwide with any Secret Service. But now we're watching it in between India and Pakistan. We're going to have a look at the chart of India. Now, having said that, there's not only tension in the sky, but parallel to this, something else is happening. Two most important aspects, I think, are also in the sky. One of it is Venus and Saturn conjunction in the sign of Pisces, which is very fine because Venus comes along pretty well with Saturn. They are a good couple. Actually, Venus is mild and friendly, or is supposed to be, while Saturn puts in stability and reason and anything like that. That's a good combination. Venus and Saturn and Pisces is like, you know, having a new Bible, something like that, having a new perspective to and a stable perspective to spiritual development, for instance. Very, very fine. And at the same time, we have, as I'm speaking, the conjunction of Moon and Neptune. See it here, Moon and Neptune in the sign of Aries. Now, in the sign of Aries, we have two more forces. One of those is Mercury, and the other one is Chiron, the wounded healer. Moon and Neptune is called in astrology the aspect of Mother Mary herself, and connected to the sign of Aries. That means that as Mars is ruling through bold actions full of faith and self-awareness, which is provided by the sign of Leo, you can have a good connection to, on a material basis, the maritime harbor thing, and at the same time this might even be an aspect that the one or the other might have a vision, you know, to Mother Mary herself. And the moon is going to hit in the evening today, Middle European summertime, 10:30, Mercury. So all this comes to language, comes to talking, comes to expression, comes to reason when the moon hits Mercury, which is not a bad thing. So these are the two main perspectives that I see on the chart. Of course, one could ask the question, well, millions of people dying worldwide, and you're looking at the as always, staged terror attack in India. They happen in periods. You might have recognized that if you're old enough to recognize that. We have terror attacks in India and Pakistan in periods, and those are the two parties. Usually it's the Secret Services, you know, to give a reason to legitimate their budgets or whatever, you know. I'm not into that, but this is what regularly happened, and it's always at the brink of a big war in between atomic powers and so on. But we'll have a look at that anyhow. But to focus on this aspect, Moon in connection to Neptune, and then the next thing, Moon in the sign of Aries being in its balsamic phase just before we get into new moon, is actually for the personal use not a bad thing. All right, and see here in Pisces, Venus with Saturn in conjunction. Venus is still on her higher level in the sign of Pisces. She feels very well in Pisces, so this is a chance in private life to step back and get some reasonable connection with harmony and connection to what is the force above. You know, this is a very, very fine aspect. The more that the North Node, the dragon head, or how the Indian people call it, Rahu, is always where it's at. So this is the direction to go into the sign of Pisces and what it provides with goods that we need to develop in our existence on this here fine planet. All right, having said that, let's have another look at the chart of India. How is that? I'm not using nation charts too often. Why is that? Because it's always critical about the foundation times. If we had exact hours and minutes, it would be far more easy. Now there is a chart for India. It's the chart of independence at the 15th of August 1947. Midnight. It's a midnight chart because this independence started at midnight. And as you can, I think this is a very, very fitting chart. If this was a personality, you could say, yes, this is really the personality India has. First of all, it's the rising sign of Gemini and the storytelling nation. You know, listen to all those gurus and they have stories to tell. They are not necessarily true. You know, they are miracles to be told. A lot of miracles. If you talk to Indian people about Jesus, then they say, oh, Jesus, we had many of them. You know, they are walking on water. You know, our gurus can that on a daily basis. You just don't know what is happening. So this is storytelling by Gemini rising. Also, you might even see in the flag of India the stellium in the sign of Leo. And this is what happened. Leo is being touched by Mars. Mars is in the sign of Leo. Mars is showing the opposition to Pluto from abroad, from because this is house 9, it's being from abroad. And at the same time, Lilith in the sign of Scorpio hits the point of Chiron. Chiron, the hurting one. There's a lot of damage that was done. Probably a lot of people are badly injured. People are dead and things like that. Also, very, very fitting to the chart, in my view, is the axis of the nodes in the Indian chart. That marks now we're coming out of deep magic. We're coming out of Scorpio and we want to go to wealth, to Taurus. Now, this is what the direction of the country is doing, actually. You can watch that. And Lilith up here in the sign of Capricorn might be well a symbol for the sadhus themselves, you know, those so-called holy men smoking the ganja, being covered with ashes, you know, saying no to life at all. This is Lilith in the sign of Capricorn. So this is a very, very fitting chart in my observation. We could go further, and also the moon in the sign of Cancer. You know, India is full of feeling, full of empathy at the same time, and to say something positive, you know, though it's like an anthill of people, somehow they are. And there's very much cruelty in India concerning about especially women. You know, they are to be they are treated very, very unfair in certain areas and things like that, and even killed and stuff like that. But mainly India has empathy, has a feeling for any being. You know, there's so many religions and beliefs and languages and things like that in India. So there's a lot of empathy in India. Okay, this is the chart of India. I wish a nice weekend for you. I'll be able to make another movie next Monday. So have a good weekend. In case you want to have a consultation with the Genius German astrologer, just choose this mail address, mine, the DE at the end. Send your date, your time, and the place where you were born, and you'll get a chart back for free, just the graphics I'm talking about. And we'll have a consultation via Zoom. You won't regret it, because it's usually something that really opens up the personality. Again, Markus Termin, the 25th of April 2025.